What's up, y'all? It's about 2 something a.m. I just finished watching The Chi Season 6, Episode 7, Long Live. And this episode is about dealing with the aftermath of Pastor Stanley being off at home in his kitchen. The episode opens up with Papa on his knees. It's from his vantage point of walking up to his father's pulpit, reeling from the fact that his father is deceased. We see Kev and Jake come in for support. They asked him, is there anything they can do? He said no, he just want to be alone. They leave him to be alone. As they're leaving, we see Bakari come in. And this is a separate scene. The first scene, we do see Papa fall to his knees crying and everything. But we also see Jake and Kev come in to try to console and comfort. And he tell them they love him and everything. And we do also see Bakari come in. My pause is because I'm trying to remember if the scene where Bakari confronts Nuck and them is before or after this. But I think we saw that after we saw Kev and them talking to him. We saw Bakari approach Nuck with the gun and say, why you kill him? And that man was like a father to me. And Nuck is like, he was talking too much. So we had to do. But I don't think Nuck is the one that did it. I really do think whatever old dude that's right under Nuck name is, I think it's him who did it. I would be surprised if it was somebody else, and a lot of people are speculating that they think that it was not that guy that always got the toothpick in his mouth. I can't think of his character's name. A lot of people are speculating that it was Bakari's sister, Brittany, and they think that somehow, some way she knows Doodah, and he paid her to do it. But I don't know. Something else that was said in this movie makes me think otherwise. I mean, in the episode, not the movie. Makes me think otherwise. So he put the gun up to Bakari, and he gave the eye to the guy. No, Bakari put the gun up to Nuck. Nuck gave the other guy the eye. He put a gun up to Bakari, and it was like, we all going, like, I'm going to die and you going to die, and this guy going to live if you pull his trigger. So Bakari leaves, and that's when he heads over to the church. Papa is mad at him because he felt like Papa is blaming Bakari and the people he be around for his father's murder. He like, my father went and tried to do right and wouldn't do what Doodah said, so they killed him. And you friends with them. And also when Bakari had the gun to Nuck, Nuck told him, when Bakari was like, that man was like my father, he was like, family. He like, no, we your family. And I'm like, oh God. Like I said, I think Mr. Stanley's death is going to change Papa in some way. And something he said in his eulogy makes me still hold on to that. But maybe I didn't know what way it would change him. Whether it would be something negative or positive. But I don't, I'm thinking it's going to be more so something positive now. Maybe Papa going to become a preacher himself. Or an activist or something. I'm not sure. But that happens. We see Keisha. She goes ahead. Keisha is packing up. She says she after Mr. Stanley died from fooling around with Doodah. And she told Emmett about how Doodah is. And she don't feel safe. And he begs her to stay. She acquiesces. She gonna stay, but she's staying in a separate room in the house. She goes and have a conversation with Nuck. And tells Nuck, if you feel like you trying to have my back, the way you can have my back is make sure you got Emmett back. When he tried to get from up under Doodah or whatever. Basically, like, look out for Emmett. And Nuck assures her that he will. So he say. We see Victor have a conversation with uh Fatima's house mother and her friend, because in that scene in in that lifestyle, of course, your closest friends become your family, and somebody that's like housing you and clothing you and feeding you, they become like your mother. And so that's who this person is to Fatima. So Victor is thinking about wanting to start a family with Fatima and all the things like that, but he's scared to express that to Fatima. He does not think, he's insecure about Fatima trusting him to, raise a family and stuff like that. He also has a conversation with Jake about Jake asks him, like, you could trust me. Why you, like, you tell me to trust you and come to you, but you don't trust me enough to come to me about anything or just to be real with me, because of course Jake's a kid, it's not much he can do. And so he tells Jake what dude did as far as tricking him into dumping the body and everything. And the fact that he admits that he felt like he owed Duda, because if it wasn't for Duda, he wouldn't be in politics the way he is. And Jake is like, it's not just because of Duda. I feel like those things happen for you when you finally kept it real with yourself and everybody else around us. And people liked who they saw. So you did that on your own. It's not Duda. And so that made Victor think a second and, really put some things together in his head. Rashad and his woman is her name Imani? It's something like that. Ayana, along something. They on the couch, laying there, looking like they dozed off. He hear a noise. And she kind of like looks like she hear it, but she goes back to sleep. He go in there, vent, get a gun out, a sawed-off shotgun, and goes and scare whoever it was that broke into the house out. When he walks back into the living room, she's awake and she sees the guns. And although the gun helped to protect them, she want them guns out of her house now. And he like, fine. It's late at night. He finds the way to get him out. They have Mr. Stanley's viewing. We only see Papa in his black, and we see a couple figures sitting in the sanctuary. Papa goes up to the casket. He leaning over it. He crying and things. Bakari shows up. As a matter of fact, when Bakari showed up the first time after Kevin and Jake was leaving, Bakari told Papa, I love him like your father loved me, like I was family. And Papa told him in his anger and in his hurt, he told him, listen, he was like a father to you, but he was actually my father. And and I forgot to mention, in that scene, after he had it out with Bakari, we saw, what's his little girlfriend name? I want to say Imani again. No, her name Kenya. Kenya came through in support. Papa told her to leave. Like the last conversation I had with my father, it was about you. He said that I wasn't ready to take on that responsibility. And he was right. So at this point, Papa's pushing everybody away in his hurt. In the midst of his hurt, he's pushing everybody away, basically. But at the viewing, he has his black on. He goes up to the casket. And then we see Bakari come in. And at this time, they kind of like, they hug and they hug and they make up. Papa realized Bakari loved it. Bakari loved Mr. Stanley. He was like, when he said it again, like, he was my father too. Like, and basically, since he was allowed him to stay there with Papa and stuff, and you can see when they had that dinner table scene a few episodes back, when Papa was saying to his father that you aren't perfect, you made mistakes. And Bakari was like, I'm just going to leave. And he was like, no, you family. You sit here and you listen to this conversation. So Mr. Stanley welcoming him with open arms, Bakari feels away as well. In this scene with him and Papa hugged and both crying, and he put Papa's head and his shoulder and his head on top of Papa's. This was some really good acting on their parts. And it was very touching and very emotional because they're going to be locked in for life. They're going to be brothers for life at this point, I feel like. Also, I forgot to mention, and when Bakari confronted Nuck, Nuck said, "You don't have the heart to pull a trigger on me." And Bakari said, "I killed before." And Nuck is like, "Yeah, you shot somebody from the back. You didn't look them in their face and shoot them." So anyway, Bakari leaves out of the funeral home church, goes outside, and he gets approached by Rashad with that bag of guns. And Rashad was like, basically, "I can't hold this. You gotta take this and don't bring no more ish like this to my doorstep. Don't bring it to them people in there. They already going through enough and all that." Bakari takes the bag and runs down the street, and it made me nervous. Because it's like, where do he have to go? He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it's like, also, who we gonna run to? Next thing you know, we see Lene in her room. Lene sitting there, and Bakari come through the window with that damn bag. And he like, "Nay," she said, "You can't stay here." He said, "I don't want to stay. I just need to leave this bag." She said, "No, I'm not holding no bag for you." "And what's in it?" He said, "I can't tell you what's in it. I'm trying to keep you out of trouble." And she's like, "Well, you bringing trouble to my door, coming to me with that bag, asking me to hold it." And in my mind, I'm like, "Lene, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." And then I'm also like, "Bakari, you just told her brother you was going to keep her safe. Like, what are you doing?" But desperation calls for desperate measures, I guess. She tells her to hide it in her closet. I'm wondering at what point Nina and Dre going to come in that room and see that bag in that closet. We see Keisha having a counseling session. And the therapist tells her the first person that broke your heart was your mother. And Keisha just starts to cry. And she tells her, "You need to bring your mother in here. And I know some things, work through some stuff with your mother." And Keisha ain't want to do it. And it's like she really is turning into her mother. And the therapist told her a lot of people don't like to face that when they see what the things that you don't like and how your parents was with you. You start to become that person and emulate that person. The very thing that you don't like. So next thing you know, they have a counseling session with them in there. And the therapist tells Nina, the way we can get this started is, won't you tell Keisha something that you've never, like, confess something to her that you've never told her, something she does not know. And you know what Nina chooses to confess? That she wish she wouldn't have tried so hard to be the good girl and do what the good girls was supposed to do, or what society says a good girl is supposed to do, and making her mother happy, which is settling down with a man and having kids and raising a family. That's not what she wanted for her life. She didn't want to be a mother. She wanted to take time to explore the world, to see what was out there in the world for her, explore her sexuality, know what it is that she really wanted out of life before hitching herself to a man and giving him some kids, and then him leaving her, you know? And what Keisha heard in that is, you didn't want me. You don't love me. And she kept saying, "That's not what I'm saying." And that's not what she was saying. Because somebody said that was not the plan they had for their life, does not mean they love. Does not mean that they do not love the children that came, because their life took a different path than what they had planned for themselves originally. And Keisha not hearing it. She just hearing, "You don't love me. You don't want me. You didn't want me." Child, Keisha is becoming so insufferable. She's a lot like Kate from This Is Us and Thelma from Amen. And if you don't know what Amen is, You too young. But anyway, we see Emmett have a conversation with Darnell, and he tells Darnell that the way he trying to get from under Duda is to buy himself out. And Darnell like, well, how much is it going to cost? Emmett have no idea, because Duda didn't give him a number. And Darnell was like, you need to get a set price, and so we can figure this out, because Darnell going to do what he got to do to protect his kid. And I really love this for him and them. After that conversation, Emmett takes his tail down there trying to go have a conversation with Duda. And when he gets down there and Duda not to be found, he stopped by Nuck. Nuck said, Keisha came out. Keisha talked already. She came down here. We ironed it out. It's already ironed out. It's already set. He was like, you talked to my girl? And he said, oh, she didn't tell you. And I said, Nuck, you want to play those games? Act like Keisha doing more than what she actually did. You want to play those games and make that man jealous. How much do you really care about Keisha? How much remorse do you really have about what happened to her when you were supposed to pick her up and you didn't? Now let's get into something else. Some speculations and theories about the show. Like the whole thing about Pastor Stanley being murdered. Some people speculate that it was Brittany, which is Bakari's sister, like I said. That wasn't one of my speculations. I just assumed it was the little short guy. Don't know his name at all. Some people were speculating that in the previews for this episode that Keisha was coming on to Nuck. And I was like, no, not so. And then some people started speculating, like, what if Keisha was pregnant before she was kidnapped by Nuck? And that little Ronnie is actually Nuck baby and not the rapist baby. That would be different and it would be better. In the sense that she won't have to look at little Ronnie and see that she had a baby by a rapist, you know. It will work out in that sense. But I don't know. Because the timelines, well, they never really gave us a timeline. And they never really said if she was having that baby early or not. But, we see a scene where Nuck and Duda are playing chess, and that little the toothpick guy is sitting there watching. He was like, when you going to teach me? And Duda said, in due time. And so Nuck was like doing something, and on the chessboard, he made some moves. And he was like, you don't protect your queen, Duda. And Duda said, see, I saw you already coming miles away. I saw you 10, 15 moves ago. Sometimes you got to sacrifice your queen to achieve the goal. Checkmate. And he won the chess match against Nuck. Nuck used his pawns. Duda said he going to sacrifice his queen. And when he said that, I said, you sacrificing your queen to win. So when you say sacrifice your queen, does that mean you had a woman go and kill Pastor Stanley because you didn't think Nuck was going to get it done? Does it mean you're going to sacrifice Rosalind and her career so you won't get hemmed up by the feds? What does that mean? Then we have the funeral. Everybody's in all white, so it was Pastor Stanley in the casket. People were speculating it was going to be somebody else. It is actually Pastor Stanley. They thought the writers was going to write some kind of plot where that it was going to be a twist, and Pastor Stanley wasn't going to die, but somebody else was going to die. Not so. But they having the funeral, and Duda has the unmitigated gall, all the fucking audacity, had time today to go and F with everybody in that funeral and march up that center aisle like that in white like everybody else with Nuck and Toothpick Yo in tow. He go up, and Stanley's widow was standing there and said, I know you don't have the audacity. He like tried to hug her every day. And she told him, get the hell out of here. I know it was you who took my husband out of here. And he said, I didn't put a hand on your husband. She said, you got one of your goons to do it, one of your pawns to do it. And when she said that, it clicked something in Nuck's head. And he just smiled at her. Duda smiled at Stanley's wife, widow, and walked on out. And then Papa goes up there and gives his speech about time goes on and waits for nobody. The last gift his father gave him was that watch, pocket watch, that's been passed down from generation to generation in his family. He's not going to take time for granted. He going to miss his father. And he don't have nothing to live for. Because the one person he wanted to impress and do everything to make them proud of him was his dad. And he knows his father not here no more. And physical. But his father's here in his spirit. And he going to make his life a living testimony to his father and what his father taught him throughout his life while he did have him for this short period of time of life. We see them go to the burial. And we see the guys carry the casket. I saw Jake, I saw Kev, I saw Emmett. And I forget who else was there. We see Papa throw the dirt on the casket. We also had a scene because we saw that Victor told, what's his name, Ahmad or something like that. His Quincy. No, Quincy is kid. I forgot that guy's name, but his campaign manager, the campaign manager. Victor told the campaign manager he wanted to have a vigil for Mr. Stanley. So I'm guessing they did. It's not they gonna do it. They did do it outside of the house, outside of their house. They had the vigil or whatever. And he said he didn't want no media, no cameras or nothing there. Just people from the neighborhood that love and respected Mr. Stanley. And so they had it. And that's how the episode went off. And like I said, what does Duda mean by sometimes you gotta sacrifice the queen? Who the queen he sacrificing? What's she going to do? What fall is she going to take? Is he going to put all this stuff on Rising like I'm thinking? Also, last review, I kept telling y'all, it's crazy. The casting is so good that they got somebody that looked just like Ahmad, who plays Bakari, to play his sister in the show. And it is his real life sister. She's older than him by about 4 or 5 years, but it's his real life sister. They look exactly alike. I went and all of a sudden after that episode last week, and I said that, all of a sudden on my For You page on TikTok, videos of them two together just keep coming up on my For You page. I clicked on one, went in the comments, and actually saw their mother in the comments and went to her TikTok. And she can sing. I mean, their mother can sing. One thing I forgot to mention that happened in this episode, Maisha in the studio. Gemma shows up to the studio 20 minutes late. Maisha pissed off about it and got a few words and wants to know where Gemma was. Gemma admitted she was somewhere meeting up with Bakari's sister Bree to talk about managing her as well, and she can afford to manage them both. Maisha like, okay, you ain't finished getting me where I need to be, but okay. So Gemma feels like Bree is further along in her career and what she got going on than Maisha, because she already got enough songs to put on a mixtape or something she was saying. So Maisha starts, they drop the beat and Maisha starts spitting. And I said, yes, girl, go ahead, girl. That rhyme was nice. It was tight. We also see a scene where we hear Bree's song, being played. I swear I think they was at Gemma's house in her room. She oiling Jake's scalp and his locks and playing the song. And he like, it's just alright. I feel like, Maisha gonna go further than her because she sounds just like everybody else on the radio. Whereas Maisha different. She got a different flow. She'd rap about different things. He like, so she cool, but you need to get an artist that's gonna make you some money right now. And Gemma is all like, well, I think it's gonna pan out in the long run. And he said, you know what? And he spied it. He said, make sure it's just about business and you being her manager. He already saw the googly eyes that them two been making towards one another. But Jake, how you get him is how you lose him. And with that, that was season 6, episode 7 of The Chi. I see y'all. Tell me what y'all think. In the comments, I think, who do you think killed Stanley? Who is the queen that do the finna sacrifice, and what is the sacrifice gonna be? Meaning, like, what is he gonna sacrifice them for? Like, is he gonna get somebody to go down for killing Q that didn't kill Q because we all know he did it? Like, what's gonna happen? What y'all think? Also, I think the way Nuck had that aha moment when Duda said to Stanley's wife or widow that you guys sometimes when she said you used your pawns to do it, something registered in Nuck's mind. I really do think that my prediction from around episode 2, I said it. Nuck is gonna be the one to help Rob, Bakari, or whomever to take Duda ass out. Watch what I tell y'all. It's gonna be Nuck. Nuck gonna be the one. Nuck gonna be the one. Duda, I think Nuck a little bit too soft. I don't think he vicious enough to take over after him. But I think it's gonna be Nuck. I think Nuck gonna be the one to surprise him. I think it's not gonna be Nuck alone. Because he's gonna have to kill that guy that's like right under him. Because that guy is all up Duda butt. But it's definitely Nuck gonna have a hand in the cutting the head off the snake, which is Duda. And with that, I'm gone for real. I gotta go to bed. I do have to get up and go to work early in the morning. So, I see y'all. Y'all know I'm not gonna put this up until maybe Saturday. But it's actually Friday morning, wee hours of Friday morning. It's probably like 2:30, 2:40 in the morning. I see y'all for real this time. Peace.